Good morning, everybody. How are you? Happy Friday. I'm so sorry that we're getting a little bit of a late start today. I had some problems with my restreaming software that I had to fix. Every once in a while, the restreaming service that I use, goes a little funny. So for those of you guys that don't know, I use a special broadcasting software, and then I push out one feed to my restreaming service, and then that service pushes out to all of you, whether you're on Twitch or Kick or LinkedIn or whatever. So every once in a while, that service in the middle kind of goes funny. So I had an issue with that. Had to restart everything. So sorry for getting started late. I hate being late. It's always one of my things. I don't like. I always like being on time. I'm that guy, right? That gets there early and is on time. So sorry about that, guys, but I really hope that you're doing well in your part of the world. I know I have followers from all over. So I really hope that you're doing well, that life is treating you well, that your families are well. Personally, I'm doing really good. I took my dog to the dog park very early this morning. I live, I'm just somebody who lives a lifestyle where I like to get up early and do stuff early. And I was really grateful this morning because I actually ended up going to two parks today. One park, part of the parking lot was closed because they were redoing the asphalt of the parking lot. And also I left because there was like one sketchy person kind of in the park. This is like, I'm there like at 4 a.m, right? Where it's kind of dark out. So I thought, I'm going to go to another park. And then I went to another park that is a beautiful park. I like it a lot. And they actually had a security guard there overnight inside the park. And I thought that was really cool. And I was just really grateful to be living in a city, living in a part of the city that's very safe, very beautiful. So just started my day off with a lot of gratitude. And then I'm also grateful for being able to spend time with you guys today. I think we're going to have a great session. I'm really looking forward to today's session. And actually, guys, give me just a minute. I forgot that I didn't push live on Instagram. Give me just a second here, guys. I forgot to initiate the chat on there, or excuse me, the stream on there. Sorry about that. I was wondering why I was seeing my YouTube but not my Instagram people. So give me just a second, guys. We have that, and then I also want to let them know to look on YouTube for the widescreen. Today is a really good day for widescreen view, guys. Lots of widescreen stuff happening today. All right. So as I was saying, really grateful that we get to spend this time together because today is going to be a really special session. Today we're going to talk about writing. And you guys know how much of an advocate I am for making sure that you write and you publish your results for data science. Now, I specifically say that for you to write your results on business impact. That's super important in data science. And when I say it's important, I'm not saying that it's important just for finding a job or for getting started. This is going to be important throughout your entire career. And also remember that publishing is an important part of the scientific process. You're supposed to publish for peer review, right? There's other opportunities for peer review during the process, of course, but you're supposed to publish because, one of the basic tenets of the scientific method is that your results should be repeatable, right? If your results aren't repeatable, then maybe, there was something wrong in your process, right? Or you hit some sort of positive variance or whatever the case may be, right? So publishing is a very important part of the scientific process. So if you really believe in yourself as a scientist, as somebody who wants to publish their work or have their work mean something in a very scientifically defensible way, publishing is a very critical part of that. Right? So that's why I want to encourage all of you to publish and get your work out there. And I know that some of you reach out to me, you send me private messages and you tell me, I'm kind of shy, I'm kind of embarrassed. What if my math is wrong? I hear from you guys, okay? I get it. Publishing can be difficult, but it's an important part. And I promise you that it gets easier over time, right? It gets easier. as I've said before, it's kind of like, jumping into the deep end of the pool. You're really scared your first time, but you survive, right? And then the next time you jump in, maybe you're a little less scared. And then the third time, you're a little less scared. And next thing you know, you're going in the deep end of the pool all the time, right? So that's what we're going to try to do. We're going to try to encourage, well, first I'm going to try to enable you with some skills on exactly what to write. And second, we're going to go ahead and think about, how consistently we can get to that. And finally, as I mentioned before, if you haven't seen my video on data science jobs, I have the rule of 3, right? 3 people that have given some very serious review of your resume, and you should have 3 articles that you should publish out there that you can show a potential employer, okay? Minimum of 3 people, minimum of 3 articles, right? So today, I'm gonna walk you through what one of those articles should look like, just kind of give you an idea of, just kind of help get you started in what those articles should look like, right? Because, I tell you guys to do this, but I also want to enable all of you to actually be able to do it, right? So that's really what we're going to talk about today. So I'm seeing a lot of new joiners, new people, which is great. I've been growing like crazy on Instagram and on YouTube, so thank you all so much for joining. Usually we start off with our global roll call, where I ask people to introduce themselves, city, state, country, province. So if I see new users in the chat, I'm going to try to, welcome them, make sure that they're acknowledged. And then I'm also seeing some questions. And, I'm not sure if I'm going to be taking questions today because I kind of want to walk through the article creation. I might take questions at the end. So if you really have questions, go ahead and put them. I'm going to do my best to get to them, but only at the end. I really kind of want to focus on the instructional that I have for today. And by the way, guys, sometimes I come up with these things spontaneously. I just decided this yesterday. I thought, yeah, okay, let's go ahead and teach this tomorrow. So I'm going to make mistakes. I'm using a new tool. Maybe I'm going to make mistakes with the tool, but that's part of doing it live, right? And I like doing things live. I would never sit down and, just like do this as a pre-recording. Like that's boring, right? I'm never going to do that. So we'll see how it goes. If we make mistakes, that's okay. And also, if you want to keep the conversation going beyond this, you want to ask clarification questions or whatnot, Discord link is pinned in your chat wherever you are. So that way you can join the conversation with the community. We passed 200 members yesterday, which is incredible. We're actually, I think, past 220 this morning. So I'm just blown away. It shows what I know about Discord, because I thought like 3 of you guys were going to join, but it's ridiculous. All right, guys, and just one more note, please. Please do not spam my chat. If you wrote your question once, I promise you it appears on my side. When you spam my chat, it kind of throws off my software, so please don't do that. It also doesn't make it very likely I'm going to get to your question. But yeah, so looking in my chat, great to see so many people attending. I'm seeing some regulars like Rahul, Rohan, Patrick, Leo. Thanks so much for joining. Sincerely appreciate your continued support. Rohit, good morning. Rohit, you've been like a great supporter over the last week. I love when people keep coming back. It encourages me. Maybe I'm doing a little something right. So thank you so much for coming back, Rohit. Choraichi? Okay, Choraichi is the last name. First name is Fadwa. Fadwa, I think is your first time, so thank you for joining. Hey, hope you're doing great. Fadwa from Casablanca, Morocco. Very nice. Yeah, we've already determined that I'm a hit in Morocco for some reason. You are not the only Moroccan in the chat, Rafadwa. Love Casablanca. I usually stay out at the Corniche there at the Four Seasons. Love Casablanca. Interesting city for sure. Yeah, the New York of Morocco, but there's only one New York, guys. Sorry. Every time I hear that, I disagree with that. But thanks for coming, Fadwa. Rohail, I think you're also new. So hello everyone, Rohail from Islamabad, Pakistan. Cool, very cool. We get a few viewers from Pakistan. So yeah, thanks for being here, Rohail. trying to figure out the new people. Rizwan, welcome back. Crazy Susie. Hey, we have a leading contender for best name of the chat. Crazy Susie. It's an honest name too. I mean, if you're willing to call yourself crazy, you know, that's an honest person. Hi, this is my first time here on live. Wonderful, Susie. Thanks for joining us. Glad you're here. So Susie and everybody else on Instagram, I've also pinned the link to the widescreen view for YouTube. Instagram is not the greatest view today, but you can probably see me better on YouTube. So feel free to switch over to YouTube, or you can stay on Instagram. It's up to you. But thanks for joining here. Faisal, I think you're also new. So Faisal, welcome to the chat. Me too in Casablanca, Morocco. Lots. I'm a massive hit in Morocco for some unknown reason. But Faisal, if it's your first time, welcome. Thanks so much for being here. Let's see. Rahul says, I liked your message on Discord. I totally forgot today is the article. This is why I post it, Rahul. That way you guys can remember. You know, right before I start, I usually post a reminder to Discord. And if you don't know what the Discord is, look in your chats. I've pinned the comment. Join us there. We're having some great conversation. I really think we're building a special community there. So please feel free to join us on Discord. Samuel, I think this is your first time. Samuel, let us know where you're from, okay? Sravan, hey Dennis, good morning. Hey Sravan, I can't remember if you're a return visitor or not. If it's your first time, welcome. If not, you're still welcome. Manoj, our good friend Manoj from Bangalore, India. Thanks so much, Manoj, for joining us. And our regular casual economist, happy Friday. How are you, my friend? Hope you're doing well out there, Minneapolis. All right. Skiu, I think this is your first time. Thanks so much for joining. I'm not really taking questions today. Maybe I will at the end. So stick around to the end. I honestly, you know, when I do these instructionals, totally spontaneous. And I'm open to you guys asking me questions. So I have no idea how long these take. So I'd like to get started as quickly as I can. You know, because for all I know, we're going to be here for 3 hours. But I don't think that's going to be the case, but you never know. So I'm going to take questions at the end, okay? Samuel says, I'm from Uganda, but currently in Phoenix. Wow. I'm sure there's a story behind that one. Narcissus Ted. I think it's your first time, so welcome. Hi, I'm Ted from Bulgaria. Welcome. I think we've had a couple of viewers from Bulgaria. Samuel, I think you're also new. Hi, I'm Samuel from Mumbai, India. You know, we have a very honest chat today. We have Narcissus Ted and Crazy Susie in the chat. You guys are very honest today. Wow, a very self-aware chat today. Wow. All right, well, thanks so much for being here, guys. All right, so the intent of today's stream is to, well, let me start all over again. So you guys know how much I advocate for publishing your work. And I tell you this over and over again in my content. But I wouldn't be much of a mentor or instructor to all of you if I didn't enable you with some of those skills, right? So that's what we're going to do today. I'm going to leave you today with a template of how I would piece together a data science article. It's an article that highlights my work. It's an article that I can add to my portfolio, and it's an article that I would use as part of my application process, particularly something that would add to my resume and something that I would refer to during the interview process. Okay, that's really kind of the goal of what we're doing today. But as I said before, publishing is not just something you're going to do for a job. You're going to do it throughout the rest of your career because it's an important part of the scientific process. So if you're a professional in the field, you should be looking to publish your work. Okay? So that's the goal for today. Right off the bat, I want to start with some audience participation. So I want to piece together this article with an example project. And I'm kind of short on ideas today. I mean, I obviously could come up with some, you know, funny project to use as an example, but I'd rather hear from you guys. So in the chat, give me an elevator pitch on a project that you worked on that you want to develop into an article, okay? Whether it's a school project or something else. Give me a couple ideas, guys. Let's start generating some ideas in the chat. What does a project that you would want to generate an article on look like for you, right? Give me some ideas in the chat, all right? So start adding things, like, and again, elevator pitch, right? Keep it short. I worked on a project that did this with a neural network or with whatever, right? Give me an idea, right? And that way we'll use your idea as the example going forward in the project. Okay? So start filling up my chat with those different types of ideas. Again, please keep it short. Just give me a little elevator pitch on your project. And that's also important, by the way. Be able to describe your project in a very succinct way. Super important skill. So please go ahead and do that. And meanwhile, I'm going to start bringing up some of my tools for the class. So here's what we're going to do, guys. This is my first time using this tool. It's a whiteboard from Canva. So I might make mistakes. I don't know. But we'll see. We'll see. Mafood says, has to be business related, fraud, marketing. Not necessarily. Not necessarily. Try me. Try me. Yeah, as Patrick says, not necessarily. Just, we'll see. We'll see. Your delivery should be about the business impact, but it's not necessary that the project itself is that way, right? Like, it's all in how you shape it, right? That's kind of part of the art of what we're going to go and talk about, right? All right, so you guys fill up my chat, and I'm going to start looking here in my Canva. Again, this is my first time using this, so if I make mistakes, I'm just going to make mistakes. So I'm going to bring in some of these notes. I was looking at these little notes earlier. I think these notes will be helpful. I think this will be helpful. Let's bring in some blue ones. Yeah, I think 4 colors should be enough. Let's bring in 5 colors just in case. All right, guys. If you need me to make anything larger, please let me know. But let's start by setting out some rules of the road, right? What is it that we're doing here? All right, first thing. Right? That's what we want to do. We want to write an article for business impact, right? Next thing we want to do, we want to present a fair and balanced approach. And finally, we are going to take the reader by the hand and guide them, right? That's really what we want to do. So guys, where is all this coming from? So I'll give you my background in where my writing was most influenced. And there was two scenarios. One, I went to a terrible high school. I hated my high school. Instructors were dumb. So what I started doing in my junior and my senior year is I started taking classes at a local community college in addition to my high school work. And I took a class on persuasive writing. No, excuse me, I think it was called argumentative writing. And I remember I would go to this class. It was on Saturday mornings for like 4 hours. And I was in high school at the time, right? So you don't want to be doing that in high school, but the class helped me tremendously, right? That class helped me understand how to put together an argumentative document. Like the instructor was very good. And she, I learned a lot from her. So that's what we're going to do, right? We're going to, part of writing an argumentative paper, a successful argumentative paper, is to present a fair and balanced approach, right? So that's where that second bullet point comes in. And then the second person that helped me with my writing was when I was in college. I had an internship at a company that specialized in video games. I worked a lot in video games when I was in college. And she would always critique my writing, and she had this thing called Steps to Toyland. where your reader is a small baby and you got to grab them by the hand and you got to show them the steps to Toyland, right? They want to go to Toyland and you know how to get to Toyland, but you got to grab them by the hand and walk them step by step to Toyland, right? So I think that's what she called it. This was a long time ago, guys. I was in college a very long time ago. But that stuck with me, right? You got to grab the reader and you got to go step by step by step by step and lead them to Toyland, right? You both want to go to the same place, but you got to take it one step at a time, right? So that's what we're going to do, right? We're going to present a fair and balanced approach, and we're going to take them step by step. Just you got to walk them step by step. Okay? All right. So next thing I want to do is what are our rules? One, minimal use of LLMs. Write in your own voice. Super critical, guys. You can tell when stuff is written by LLMs, right? And if you're a serious scientist and you're writing your work with an LLM, I think it cheapens your work. It takes away from how much you care about your work, right? So we want to make sure that we are not using any LLMs to write our work. We're going to use it as a tool overall, but our work should be our voice. So that's the first rule. We're going to do it all in our work, okay? Second thing we're going to do is we're going to make sure that, well, excuse me, I'm sorry, let me take a step back. A second reason I say that is because I don't think that for extended text, LLMs are quite there yet. The example that I've given people is that when I was writing my book, and you can check out my book, Your First Year in Data Science, halfway through, I stopped using Grammarly. Because, Grammarly is advertised as a very advanced spell check and text correction tool. And I'm sure they've done a lot of work, but I didn't like the way Grammarly was flattening out my words. The problem with LLM tools is that they basically bring your text back to like a base standard, right? A very flat, very base form of whatever language you're working in. It took away the life from my text. It was correct. It was factually correct the way it presented the new changes to me, but the text didn't have life to it, and you should care about that in the way you're delivering, right? Because that adds to the quality of your work. So, minimal use of LLMs. Use your own voice. Okay, very critical. Second part is minimal to no code or math. If we need to explain a concept, we're going to do it in the most basic terms possible, okay? We're going to accept that users do not care about math or code. Because remember, the focus here is business impact, right? We're not demonstrating code impact or how many GPUs we used or anything else. We're demonstrating business impact above all else. All right? All right, so let's move this to the side. We're going to keep this kind of as a bookmark to the side because these are our rules of the road, right? These are our guiding principles, right? All right, so let's start looking at some of these suggestions that you guys have given. Remember, I'm looking for help on different things that we can talk about, like as an example project. So Leo says, I worked on a recommendation system for an educational institution. Okay, Leo, tell me more about that. That might be have some potential. Rahul says, actually, I'm thinking of a project with image multiple classification for security purposes. If a type of vehicle which may have caused an accident, and it will be able to detect with object detection. Okay, Rahul. I'm kind of feeling that. Servan says, integrated performance data from various online ad platforms and applied machine learning techniques to predict future budget requirements for upcoming years. Okay. Predicting on what? Predicting on desired desired engagement or desired click-through rates, or that's what I'm guessing? Felipe, I think this is your first time. Welcome, Felipe. I worked on a project that took mobile check deposit data and tried to determine if the check submission was fraud or not. Oh, okay, Felipe. I'm kind of feeling that one. I'm kind of feeling that one. Okay, cool. Rahul says it may not be a new idea, but I want to do it. Okay. Rohit says LLM integrated customer support and product recommendation chatbot. Fine-tune an LLM model and public data from Kaggle product recommendation dataset Amazon. All right. Patrick, are you asking a question, or is that a project? Which industries will see the most growth in data science jobs over the next 10 years? Yassine says we build an AI agents crew to extract some product reviews from a website and do sentiment analysis on them. I don't know if I'm feeling that one, Yassine. Another project I just finished up is a meeting transcript summarizer follow-up generator. Okay. Patrick, the first was a project idea. Okay. All right. Yeah, this is great, guys. If you guys still want to contribute a project idea, I'm open to it, but I think we got some good ones. So Felipe is an interesting one. Worked for mobile checks, right? And I think it was Rahul. Project with image multi-classification for security purposes, the type of vehicle which may have caused an accident and will be able to attack with object detection. Yeah, both of those are pretty cool. Both of them are computer vision. Samuel says sentiment analysis using data from multiple social media sites to predict a fail point or when a social uprising is imminent and prepare a business to proactively prepare. Okay. Okay. You know, I'm feeling mobile checks. Yeah, let's use mobile checks, guys. So Felipe, I think it's your first time in the chat, so congratulations. You're starting off with a win already. I'm gonna go ahead and use your idea. All right, guys. So I have Felipe's problem statement up on the screen. All of us here collectively, we are a computer vision team. We have just developed an algorithm that takes in images from a mobile phone, right? Somebody who's trying to scan in their check, or like a mobile deposit. We're looking at the images and we're supposed to make a go, no-go decision on whether that check is fraudulent or not, right? And either the check continues into the deposit process or the check, is put away for further investigation or some sort of hold, right? Some sort of customer hold. Yeah, so this is good. This is good. I'm feeling this one. All right, so let's start. First of all, our targeting platform is going to be LinkedIn or X or Medium, right? Medium is a little weird because, they do kind of charge the reader. But LinkedIn and X have very robust publishing engines, or at least robust enough for what we need to do, right? So we're going to piece together the different template, or we're going to piece together a template with the different portions that we're going to need for to publish this particular article, right? That's going to be the goal here. And by the way, guys, feel free to stop me if you have a question or a comment as I go along. Okay, I want to make this interactive. All right, so the first thing we're going to do, we're going to need an image for the article. This is one of the few things that we're going to go ahead and say can be generated by AI. We don't need to get fancy with this, right? The reason we do this is one, it's because it's good for SEO, and it's also required by LinkedIn and X. I believe X. Don't quote me on the second one, but I know that LinkedIn requires you to have an image for the article, like a header image for the article. Okay? So that's the first thing we need to do. We need to go ahead and have an image for the article, and we'll help. And don't get fancy with it. Don't get stuck on this. We're generated by AI. Okay? Next thing we're going to do. We're going to need a title for the article. Right? And here, it's going to be focus on the business. Focus on the business, not the tech. Right? So this is going to be, as an example. And again, I'm doing this off the top of my head. It can be as simple as that, right? Advanced check fraud detection with machine learning. Because we want to clearly state that we're bringing something new to the table, right? Because check fraud detection already exists. But the secret sauce that we're adding is the machine learning side of it, right? Or rather, the advanced part of it that we're adding is the machine learning part. So that's what we want to start off with, right? Short titles tend to do better for the reader, for SEO, for a variety of different reasons. So just keep it short. No need to get fancy with it. You guys with me so far? All right. So give me a second here to look at my next part. Next part. Oh no, don't tell me I can't copy that. Oh, there it goes. Whew. So now we're gonna need our, let me make this a separate color. All right, so now we're actually getting into the writing of the text. That's why I'm making this yellow, right? So next thing we want to do, or our opening paragraph, right? Because at this point, this is our first paragraph in the entire article. So what we want to do is we want to state the problem. What is it that we're trying to solve? Why is this a problem? Right? You can also choose to break this out into another paragraph, but you can also talk about the current solutions, right? So what do the current solutions do? Because, people who are reading this probably already work in banking, so they already know that there's solutions out there. So let me know, right? What is your understanding of the current landscape for check fraud detection? So in this section, you would want to consider things like check fraud causes X amount of dollars lost every year, right? What is the scope of the fraud, right? And then you might want to add check fraud persists because of X reasons, and then list out those reasons, right? Why is this a continued problem? Because the cameras aren't good. Because people are more sophisticated about creating the fraudulent checks. Because people are very good at stealing the routing numbers for those checks. What exactly is it that's causing the problem to persist? And that's also important if your solution addresses a particular part of that fraud. Like if you're going to say the fraud persists because people are very good at copying the the account numbers and the the routing numbers, then you should mention that if your algorithm, if your solution is very good at cross-referencing those numbers, right? Or at instantly checking the validity of those numbers, right? So this is where you're setting up your reader for why your solution addresses the problem or has an effect on the problem, right? That's kind of what you want to get to when you're stating the problem. Everybody with me so far? If there's any questions, go ahead and put them in the chat, okay? Alvaro, I think you've been here before? Can't remember. Thanks for your content. Greetings from Europe. Greetings to you too, Alvaro. Tasia, I think it might be your first time. Hello from India, and welcome, Tasia. Nice to see you. Rohit says it was a project that I did. Yeah. If you're referring to this, Rohit, if anybody has any background on this particular project, because I'm sure some of you have done this, right? This is probably not a unique project. Let me know. Let me know in the chat, okay? But again, this is one of our steps to Toyland, right? You're setting up the problem. Why are we even talking about this? Well, because it causes X number of dollars of loss every year. That's what we're talking about this, right? Okay. All right. Next paragraph. Oops. So, we've acknowledged that there's a problem, right? So now, what are you doing about the problem? Not what everybody else is doing, but what are you doing about the problem? So again here, from the business perspective, and second, what does your solution do? Right? So you've told me what the problem is. You've told me there's already other people out there trying things. What are you going to do about it? Yeah, by the way, actually, I forgot to do that in this first section. So in this first section, not a requirement, but you can also choose to have another portion. Current solutions for the problem do X. Right? What does the current landscape look like for these solutions? Because you told me there's a problem. You told me that it persists. And now tell me what some people are doing about it. Not what you're doing about it, what some people are doing about it. So now in the next paragraph, now you're telling me how you're addressing it. What are you doing about it? Right? Here, our solution uses an advanced approach of X. And we're keeping it as base as we can, right? Minimizing the talk, minimizing the code, minimizing the math. So that's the goal. And let's try to flesh this out just a little bit more. I'm going to, on the fly, I'm going to attempt to write an entire paragraph for this, right? So give me just a second here. Okay. So this is me just thinking off the top of my head, but this should show you how, at the level that you want to keep your statements. Our team has identified a potential gap in the marketplace of tools for check detection. There have been many advancements in computer vision algorithms that can be used for check scanning. We have implemented the latest approaches in this space, and we have created an algorithm that can improve fraud detection by 10%. That increase represents a potential savings of 5 million USD to most financial institutions. And that's it. That's all you have to say, right? You might have noticed that I even hesitated to use computer vision, right? Because even a term like that, I think, is potentially too much for some audiences. You might throw them off a little bit by saying that. So that's, that's how basic I'm trying to keep things. I'm not mentioning neural networks. I'm not mentioning any particular libraries or things along those lines. We're just mentioning what we did in order to help us improve on the baseline that's already out there. All right, and that's it. That's all we have to write. That's an entire paragraph in that section. All right, so let me know if there's any questions. Otherwise, we're ready for the next paragraph. Here's the next paragraph. So we're going to go ahead and call this oh man, I hate when that happens. So here, we want to provide just a little bit of background into what we did, right? Because you want to put some credibility behind your study. You want to show that you didn't just do this overnight or something, right? So you want to show that you had some credibility in your process. But again, keeping it very non-technical. So in this portion, we want to provide something like what was our data for this? Talk a little bit about the training hours. And then we're also going to talk about the validation. How do we know that we were right, right? And that's it. That's all you want to talk about, right? So, actually, I'm going to change this here. And that's it. You want to address those 3 items in this paragraph. Where did your data come from? You know, what does it look like? How many training hours did you have? And I do give an allowance here where you can go ahead and mention the algorithm that you used, right? Now, I'm using neural networks as an example here. Most computer vision problems are neural networks. But, you know, I'm only allowing for it to be mentioned here, assuming that you ran a proper champion model search process and things along those lines, right? So, you know, make sure that there's a statistically defensible process behind that. But go ahead and name the algorithm. And finally, how many human eyeballs did you have on your data? How many human eyeballs signed off on your results? You want to have those 3. Okay? And that's it. That's it for that section. Pavan, I see that you're on Instagram. Feel free to switch over to YouTube where you can see things a little bit wider. It might be more clear on what we're doing here, okay? Patrick asks, what if we did not make a better algorithm? Don't write the article. For the most part, that's correct, Patrick. There are some instances where maybe you still do want to publish out if you're doing some, you know, groundbreaking work. But yeah, for the most part, you probably wouldn't get to this type of stage. Okay. Okay, Rohit, thank you, but we're not really looking for more suggestions on the project. Okay, we're moving forward with the check cashing project or the check fraud project. Okay. All right. Yeah, Patrick, thank you for addressing that. So that's it, guys. What's the scope of your solution, right? That's all we want out of that section. And now, here's where the good stuff comes in, right? What does your solution mean to me what does it mean to me, a business person, your business stakeholder? What does it mean to me? GPUs don't mean anything to me. Human validation doesn't mean anything to me. Just what does it mean? So you got to talk to me in dollars and cents, right? All right. So here, this section at first seems straightforward, but there's a little bit of a twist to this, guys. Okay? Slight twist here. So in my book, your first year in data science, I put an emphasis on business impact. And generally speaking, there's 3 ways, not just one. Most people just think of money, but there's 3 ways that you can improve business impact. Okay? One is dollars and cents, right? Which is the obvious one. How much are you saving me? 2 is human hours. Can you prove that human hours have been reduced in some way? Because if you can do that, then you're saving me money, right? Time and money. 3 is something known as close calls. And close calls can have can have a variety of definitions. But fraud is one of them, right? Can you prove that your algorithm prevented some sort of a fraud, right? A close call, so that there could have been a loss, but there wasn't actually a loss to the bank or to the company? Or can you prove that the algorithm prevented some sort of regulatory violation which would have resulted in a fine? Right? That's also known as a close call. If you can show that you have an algorithm that prevents, some sort of harm to the company, to the customer, or whatever, that would have resulted in a fine from the government or from an agency, then that's a close call that your algorithm prevented. So the reason I liked this particular check fraud thing is because the check fraud has all 3 elements of those. So I can show you examples of those. So that's unique to this project. Not every project is going to have all 3 of those. But keep those in mind. Don't just focus on the dollars. You can focus on the human hours and on the close calls too, in addition to the dollars, right? So keep that in mind. All 3 of those are going to appeal to your business stakeholders if you can show that. Super important, right? So let me highlight those, right? So that can be here. Oh, that can be. All right. So that's what you want to focus on. So what do these look like? In the first one, talk about your results, right? So in this scenario, how many checks did you correctly identify as being fraudulent? And what was the average value? And then X times Y gives you the potential savings, for the month or for the year or, whatever the case may be. Okay? So just talking plain dollars and cents for that one. Pretty straightforward on that. Here, human hours. What does the current process look like? You can usually find something like this, right? The improvements of your algorithm should be correlated to some savings in the human intervention side of it. If the current algorithm detected 100 checks that require some sort of human validation because, they couldn't be scanned right or, something along those lines, but now your algorithm is advanced, it uses a better computer vision algorithm, and now there's only 10 checks that get kicked back from some sort of inconclusive result. Well, that's a human savings, right? Because now you're using a lot less humans to have to intervene during these occurrences. So you can assign an hourly value to that. And that's also important for business impact. All right? And then we can focus on the close calls, right? And on this one, we can talk about so if your current algorithm is causing some sort of potential problem, say so. Hey, we are near a threshold that's attracting regulatory attention. If we can use this algorithm and lower the number of bad checks that we're getting, then we are also, in turn, lowering that close call. We are lowering the risk of some sort of regulatory action against us. And I'm sure that you guys can also imagine how in this section you could also talk about fraud, right? We talked about, I'm not using it again because we talked about it in the first one when we were talking about dollars and cents. But this is an example of where we can do it also for the regulatory side of it. Okay. Patrick says, if we aren't at a company, how should we go about learning another company's process? Yeah, good question, Patrick. This is where your own personal reading comes in. Read about the industry. What is the average fraudulent check for the industry? I'm positive there's numbers out there about that, right? How many fraudulent checks are written a year to mobile apps? I'm sure there's numbers out there about that. So yeah, you may not be internal to the company to know that, but you can get industry journals or other things out there. Remember, just because we're writing about ourselves and our project doesn't mean we don't have to do any external research. You still will have to do external research, just a little different focus in what you're hunting down. Okay. A great question, Patrick. Dennis, unfortunately, I need to drop out, but we'll save to watch later. Yeah, sure, guys. Everything I do is archived on YouTube, so you can always refer to it later, no problem. But yeah, feel free to leave if you need to, but just you can watch the replay on YouTube later. And this particular episode, I might actually cut down and make its own YouTube video. We'll see. But yeah, but thanks so much for the time you guys do spend with me. All right, so are we clear on this? There's 3 different ways to present impact, right? Don't just focus on the dollars and cents. Lots of ways to do impact. All right, what else do we need to add? Casual Economist says, I need to think of some healthcare projects. Yeah, if that's your interest, sure. Start reading industry journals. Start reading industry news, right? If you read more news articles, more research, that should lead to more questions in your mind, and questions are usually a good start for a hypothesis. And guys, I'm saying that for whatever you're interested in. Casual Economist in particular is interested in healthcare, but whatever you're interested in, start reading about that industry, become knowledgeable about that industry. And as those questions in your mind pop up, take the time to read. Or excuse me, take the time to think about it. Well, why is that happening? Why is it happening now? Why didn't it happen last year? Oh, I bet it happened because of this. Oh, well, that's a hypothesis, right? Okay, well, if you have a hypothesis, then you're on your way for a data science project, right? It can be that simple, guys. You just have to put in the time, keep up with what's happening in whatever it is that interests you, whether it's healthcare or something else. All right, good questions, guys. Okay. So now we've demonstrated impact, right? Next question. Or excuse me, not next question, next section. Whenever you sell a stakeholder on a new solution, particularly to more of your senior leaders, they're going to get excited. And their next question is always, how soon can we deploy? That's all they care about. They just care about how you can deploy. How quickly and when. And that's all they care about, right? Well, excuse me, how quickly and what's it going to cost me? So, So you want to answer these 3 questions. Right? So talk about what investment they're going to need. How are you going to integrate into the mobile app? Sorry, I meant to write mobile app there. For the mobile app. And then the server space will cost X, and we think we can deploy in Y weeks. Right? What's it going to cost, and how many weeks do you think it's going to take to get to an actual deployment? They're going to always want to know this. This will be their first question after they like your solution. Now, if you're writing this in public for LinkedIn, maybe you'd frame it a little differently, right? Maybe you'd frame it a little differently and say, we think you can run this on modest hardware. Here's how many GPUs we think you're going to need. Or here's an example of an AWS instance that this could run on. But we're still keeping it high level, right? And then, once we're done with that, our last paragraph. We're basically done after this. So this is something that I love to stress with all of my teams, and anybody who's worked for me has heard this from me. Every good white paper in the world ends with a next steps, right? I think a responsible part of data science is being able to tell people, hey, if you want to pick up my work from here, here's what we would be doing, or here's some potential ideas for what else you could be doing. I think that's healthy for the data science ecosphere, right? What are some of the things that you would recommend going forward? So obviously I'm recommending that if you do it like in a public forum, right? Like again, like a public LinkedIn article, things along those lines. But internally, if you're working for a company, the benefit there is that, you might be able to get more hardware and more money for your team, right? Because if you got them excited about this idea, then show them what else you can do, right? So that's going to be really key also. Let them know what else you could be doing. Let them know what could be next, right? So for this project, you could say, there are so talk about the cameras, right? Mobile phone cameras are always improving. So you might want to keep up with that in some way, right? So if you give me more time, you give me more money, here's what I could do for you. Very, very key part of the process to do that. Keep that in mind, because again, every good white paper, every good article always ends with some sort of look to the future. Some sort of look to say, if you like me now, great, you're going to love me more if you let me do this for you. Right? That's a really important part of the entire process. And again, not just for, from like an academic perspective, but also just from like a budgeting perspective, right? You're making your team look good. You're setting your team up for more resources in the future, right? So make sure you always include that. All right. All right. So let me go back here. All right. I think that's all the different sections I wanted to cover. Yeah. So let's just take a quick review, right? We have an image for the article required by some of the platforms and is also good for SEO. We have a catchy title, but as short as possible. And then here's where we're starting, right? The steps to Toyland. Stating the problem. What is the scope of the problem right now, right? How are you addressing the problem? What is the secret sauce that you're adding to the solutions? What is the scope of your solution, right? This is where you're supporting, right? This is basically like, okay, the reader is saying, okay, I understand the problem, but show me that you're not an idiot. Show me that you know how to go about this. Well, we got this many checks. We use this many human validators. We think we're adding a new part of a solution because of this, and so on and so forth, right? Okay, cool. You just told me you're not an idiot. I'm buying into your approach. What does this mean? How much are you saving me? Like, what does it mean? What does it mean to me for my budgets? Well, here's where you are losing money. Here's how I'm saving you money. You're losing money because of the fraud. You're losing money because of the human hours, and you're potentially losing money because the government is going to realize that you're accepting all these bad checks. So we're reducing that risk, right? Okay, cool. You sound like you know what you're talking about. How quickly can you work with me? Can we deploy tomorrow? They always ask you that, right? Sure. If you want me to deploy, I'm going to need this server space, and I'm going to need 5 weeks with 10 people. Okay, cool. You sound like a smart guy. What else can you do for me? Well, if you give me 3 more months, I can work on this, but I'm going to need more money and I'm going to need more time to do that for you. And then you're done, right? That's it. That's really all you want to, and quite frankly, need to communicate to the majority of your business stakeholders out there. And we haven't talked code. We haven't talked math. We don't look like a robot talking in front of them. You haven't lost your audience because they're lost in your words, right? Because we're not making our audience feel stupid, right? Because that's not beneficial either. We're just grabbing them by the hand and walking them to Toyland, right? That's all we're doing. And we're making a very methodical approach to the argument that we're creating. And that's it. And we're doing it in what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 paragraphs. That's it, guys. No latex, don't put away the latex, put away the screenshots of your code. I know you're going to be tempted to take a screenshot and a snippet of your code. Don't do that. We're talking to our business people. So again, coming back to my rule of 3, I want you to have 3 articles exactly like this before you even think about putting yourself out there as a data scientist. But if you do this and you have three good articles like this, I guarantee you your job search is going to go a lot easier. Okay? Yuri, I think it's your first time. Welcome, Yuri. Hey, Dennis, this article looks as something that a data scientist will do as part of a team, having some computational resources or an entry-level portfolio. Can article mean more mod? Yeah, of course. Yeah. Look, Yuri, I think when you say that only comes into play if you read my examples. Because yes, this check fraud example is probably unique to like a business project, right? But just read the titles, right? An image, a title for the article, you're going to state your problem. How are you addressing the problem? What is the scope of your solution? What does your solution mean to me as a business person? And what is the path to deployment? That applies no matter how big your project is. You could be a student and still be using that guidance, right? So yeah, ignore the explanations, but think about the titles and like the framework I'm giving you here. That framework still applies no matter how big or small, you as a developer are or your project is. Or excuse me, you as a data scientist are or your project is. Right? So don't get caught up in the check example per se, because yes, this would be like a big data, big banking type of project. But the framework still applies. You're walking your people through, and we're keeping the tech talk to a minimum. So it still applies in any situation, really, you could be thinking of, Yuri, okay? Good question. All right, guys, that's it. That's how simple it can be, guys. Right? That's the framework I'm proposing. This is all you really need for the majority of the work you're going to be doing out there. Walk into your next data science interview with 3 of these ready to go. Right? And as soon as you sit down, hey, I'd like to submit this article I wrote to you as my writing sample, and I'd like to walk you through it. And walk them through it. Take control of the interview and show them that you know what you're talking about as a data scientist. And they might ask you deeper questions like, okay, tell me more about the neural network, and that's okay. That'll be part of your skill too, right? But showing up with these shows that you are ready to go on day one. And that's really what you're trying to accomplish in an interview, right? That's the meta game that you're playing. So don't listen to these idiots out there. Oh, well, you need to know the math. You need to know DSA. No, what you need to do is you need to show that you're ready to go on day one. And this type of work demonstrates that. All right. Luffy says, hello, I'm Luffy from Tel Aviv, Israel. Nice. Welcome, Luffy. I think it's your first time. I've had staff in Tel Aviv. Lots of data science happening in Tel Aviv. Will you please share this board with us? Yeah, I might have to clean it up a little bit, I think there's a way to publish this. I don't know. It's my first time using this tool. But yeah, I'll try to find a way to put this out on Discord or something. Okay. I'll see if I can find a way. But yeah, guys, this is it. It's that simple, right? Keep the tech talk to a minimum. Super important. And again, the meta game is that you're showing that you're ready to go on day one. And I want to see you have 3 of these, right? This is part of my rule of 3, at least 3 of these. Personally, I probably did about 10 of these when I was doing my studying and when I felt comfortable to put myself out there as a data scientist. I think I probably about 10 to 12, something like that. And one of them was a presentation at a conference. But yeah, that's what I would like to do. Lofi says, how would this change for like a football wins prediction project? Again, same answer I gave to Yuri, right? Just think about the headings. What is the problem you're trying to solve? Well, I'd like to know who's going to win a game. Okay. How are you addressing the problem? Well, I think that the goals scored in the previous game is a pretty good indicator. Okay, cool. What is the scope of your solution? Well, I looked at 5 seasons worth of games and I collected 100 different game results for that. Okay, great. What does your solution mean to me as a business person? Well, I was accurate in predicting 60% of wins, which you can make money on in the betting markets or whatever, right? What is the path to deployment? Nothing. It runs on my mobile phone. Okay, cool. What are the potential next steps? Well, it's possible that instead of looking at previous goals scored, I could look at individual players, and those individual players would give me a higher rate than 60%. Okay, cool. Right? I mean, same thing. Rahul says, was my idea good to publish? Yeah, absolutely, Rahul. So reminding everybody, Rahul had an idea about image detection, detecting if a car had been in an accident or not, right? If you took different pictures of a car, Could you detect that that car had been in an accident? Yeah, you could definitely write an article about that. I thought it was an appealing idea. I just happened to choose this one, because as soon as I read it, the article popped out of my head, right? But yeah, you could definitely do it on that one. It's just a different business audience, but sure, of course that could have been an article. Just follow the same framework, okay? Nexus, I think it's your first time joining us. Thank you. All right, guys. So Anise says, so it all comes down to the business understanding and the business problem we're trying to solve with data science. Love the advice to keep the maths and code to a minimum in the article. Thank you. Yeah, you're welcome. Super key, guys, right? Super key. And, as a closing note, this also ties back. This ties back to one of the conversations we were having just the other day on stream, guys. Do not assume that everybody in your interview chain is a technical person. I see that mistake being made a lot. Oh, I got to get ready for this. I got to do leak code. That's not always the case. Like I gave you the example. In my interview chain, there were 6 people. Only 2 were technical. Or you might have a panel interview of 5 people and only one of them is technical. So you want to keep things at a high level. You want to show that you're still a knowledgeable data scientist, right? Hey, I'd like to tell you about the research I did, and I did this many human validation hours, and I went out and I collected all these images and worked on this. So I'm a dedicated worker, but I'd rather talk to you about my results. I'd rather talk to you about my business impact. Super critical, guys. Super critical. All right, guys. Thank you so much for being here. Really grateful I get to spend the time with all of you. I hope that you found today's helpful. I love doing these things spontaneously because, they just come to mind and I'm able to put them out there for you guys. I'm just sharing you my real world experiences. Hopefully it helps you in some way. But again, just really grateful for the time. If you do like my teaching style, come back on Sunday. We're going to do our final class of the Introduction to Statistical Learning book. I'm going to work on these materials today. It's going to be a bittersweet moment, but would love to see you guys back for that on Sunday. All right. So thank you so much, guys. Please take care of yourselves. Take care of your families. I know I have viewers all over the world, lots of things happening in the world. So take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next time.